How we doing, everybody? As we know, next weekend, UFC 276 International Fight Week, Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, defending the title for a sixth time against the killer gorilla, Jared Cannonier. And this is an exciting fight. I cannot wait for this one. Listen, Israel Adesanya, the former kickboxer who had an amazing career fighting all over Asia and Australia, probably Europe, I'm not sure, I don't know. I did not study his kickboxing career, but I have studied his mixed martial arts career and I've paid very close attention. It was obvious when Israel Adesanya signed with the UFC that he was always going to do well. You know, his first fight, they tested the takedown defense. Of course, a kickboxer with that kind of pedigree that Israel has, you want to take him down. To be honest, he's passed that test with flying colours almost every time he's fought. Every time Israel fights, every time Izzy fights, they're going to try and take him down because he's a fantastic kickboxer and one of, if not the best strikers in the UFC. And of course, he's one of the most dominant champions that we have as well. I mean, what he's done, what he's brought to the Octagon in terms of action, and also what he's brought in terms of personality, star power. I'm a massive fan of the guy on everything what he's done, how he's handled himself, the career that he's had, stepping up to light heavyweight, trying to become a double champ. I mean, you know, having the balls to do that, the courage to do that, daring to be great, putting the sparkling undefeated record on the line. Now listen, he came up short, but no, you know, no shame there. It was against the light heavyweight champion of the world. Okay, listen, when Izzy fights, it's always the same thing. He does it on the feet, he does it with speed, he does it with reflexes. Of course, he's incredibly flexible. You know, of course, he's been a kickboxer in his entire life, and he really has cat-like reflexes, urban cat-like reflexes. I'm telling you, the man is fast. He's like lightning and he has a killer instinct. When he's in the octagon, he does not give a fuck. He really doesn't. That doesn't mean he's wild. That doesn't mean he throws caution to the wind and just gets reckless. No, he's very, very calculated. But when he sees the opening, he goes for it. Some of the wins that he's had, unbelievable. Robert Whittaker 2 times in a row. Well, not in a row, but 2 times. First time knocked him out, not once, but twice, if you count the one at the end of the first round. Second one was very, very close. In fact, I got a lot of shit of Robert Whittaker fans for that one. I thought Robert Whittaker had a really good performance against Israel Adesanya, but I knew he was going to come up short on the scorecards. My point back then was, listen, Whittaker didn't come to lose a close decision. Whittaker came to win, and currently what he was doing was not going to result in a win. Turns out I was right, but a lot of people thought I had very biased commentary towards Israel Adesanya, which is absolute utter nonsense. May the best man win. I'm a huge fan of Robert Whittaker, so why would I have a big hard on for Israel? Anyway, but Izzy got the job done. In fact, let's have a look at his record real quick. Yeah, so as we can see here, he made his UFC debut against Rob Wilkinson, got the job done there. Then it was Marvin Vettori, so tough competition straight away. Brad Tavares, no walk in the park for anybody. Brad Tavares is a tough out. Then it was Derek Brunson, Blonde Brunson. He beat him convincingly, got the knockout there. Anderson Silva, that's when he became the interim champ. So obviously a massive victory there. Fight of the year against Kelvin Gastelum. After that, he knocked out Robert Whittaker. Then it was a decision win against Yoel Romero. That one was a little bit more forgettable. Not the most action-packed fight. But hey, listen, not every fight when you go out there is going to be a barn burner. Not every fight's going to be, oh my God, it's the fight of the year. So that one can be forgiven. And then after that, Paulo Costa. I mean, what an absolute destruction he put down on Paulo Costa. I mean, it was almost embarrassing. And I'm not talking about what Izzy did immediately after he got the knockout.
That's fucking illegal.
I mean, I'm talking about the way he dismantled him, the way he took him apart, the way he picked him apart, the way he butchered the legs, the speed that he had, the delivery of the techniques. I mean, if you were in the middleweight division, you were watching that thinking, holy shit. Because that was an ass whipping of the highest proportion. And Paulo Costa's no walk in the park for anyone. Remember, he was undefeated at the time, came into that fight full of it, brimming with confidence. And did not get the job done. And then afterwards said that he was drinking red wine all night. Well, if he was drinking red wine all night, that's probably because he was very nervous. As we know, after that, he went up against Jan Blachowicz, didn't get the job done there. So what? So what? He tried. He did okay. He did good on the feet. The difference was the wrestling by Blachowicz in round 4 and 5. But still, you know, he tried. He did okay. He didn't get finished. Didn't get embarrassed. You know, he held his own. He just came up short. Then, of course, he beat Marvin Vettori by decision and Robert Whittaker by decision. Now, coming into this one, he says that this fight is going to be clinical. He says that it's going to be like Forrest Griffin versus Anderson Silva. Okay, I mean, because if you cast your mind back to that fight, that was unbelievable. Forrest Griffin was a very, very tough, big, strong, aggressive game guy, and Anderson just pimped him. Anderson Silva made him look stupid. He really did. And I love Forrest. We're good friends. So I take no satisfaction if I'm saying this, but the head movement, we've heard it all before. Anderson was in the Matrix. But he was in the zone that night. There was no one touching him. He was so fast. He was on fire. And he finished the job with a jab, if I'm not mistaken. Knocked him down, knocked him out with a jab. I mean, Anderson was incredible. To repeat or to replicate that kind of performance is not going to be easy. And certainly when you're fighting Jared Cannonier. Now, Jared Cannonier coming into this one, he does present a kind of a unique challenge. Because, of course, listen, Izzy at this point, he's seen almost all styles. You know, Robert Whittaker, the well-rounded guy, probably the biggest threat in terms of a skill set. He's seen big brawlers. He's seen guys that want to stand. He's seen good Thai boxers, kickboxers, you name it. But I do believe that Jared Cannonier offers something a little bit different. Now, when you look at his record, he's got a record of 15 wins with 5 losses. Now, when you see 5 losses, automatically you think, well, of course this guy's going to lose. You know, the guy's been beaten 5 times. Izzy has only lost once by a close decision to the light heavyweight champion of the world when he stepped up a weight class. Jared Cannonier has a history of losing fights, has a habit of losing fights. But when you look at it closer, when you peel under the surface or scratch beneath the surface, remember his first loss to Sean Jordan, that was at heavyweight. Then he came down to light heavyweight. He was a work in progress. Lost to Glover Teixeira. No shame to losing to Glover Teixeira. Then he loses to Jan Blachowicz by decision. Who else lost to Jan Blachowicz by decision? Oh yeah, that's right. And then he lost to Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes, who then went on to fight for the belt. So no shame in any of that. He drops down to middleweight, his natural weight class. He used to be a big guy. Jared Cannonier didn't know anything about diet. Came down to 185. He looks incredible at 185. And he went on quite the tear. Knocked out David Branch. Stopped Anderson Silva with leg kicks. I mean, that's unbelievable. Anderson Silva, I was talking about this recently, has been kicked in the legs so many times. He started off as a Thai boxer. His thighs will be supremely conditioned. So I don't know what he did there. I mean, obviously he kicked him. I don't know what the injury was. I don't think Anderson had surgery or anything like that. So it just shows the power that Jared Cannonier possesses. Then, of course, he lost to Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker, though, you got to remember, styles make fights. Robert was mixing in takedowns and things like that. Israel is not going to hit a takedown. He may hit a knockdown, that's for damn sure, whether it's a punch, a kick, a knee from the clinch. Keep an eye on that one. I'm going to call it right now because I think Cannonier is going to close the distance. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're talking about Cannonier still. And then Cannonier beat Kelvin Gastelum. And then last time out, UFC 271 in Houston, knocked out Derek Brunson. It was kind of nasty. So, now listen, MMA math does not stack up. But if you look at the fight with Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva, they were close. It was a close fight. It was very close, in fact. I'd have to watch it again, but at the time I remember not really knowing who had won. It was one of those fights could have gone either way, and Israel got the nod. Maybe I'm not remembering that correctly. But if you look at the fight with Jared Cannonier and Anderson Silva, that was a completely different fight. That was a total shutout. When you fight Anderson Silva, it's the same thing as fighting Israel Adesanya, by the way. When you find a guy that's tall, lanky, long, rangy, excellent kickboxing with a very long reach, you have to take away the reach advantage. You have to put them on the back foot. You cannot allow them to plant their feet in the octagon and be at their range, where they're having fun, to where this becomes a technical matchup, to where then, you know, they are fighting their style of fight. They are doing what they have trained to do their entire life. No, you got to put them on the back foot. You got to make it a war. They always say, brawl the boxer and box the brawler. That's what they say, you know, and it's kind of true. Jared's got to kind of make this a calculated brawl, but he's got to put him on the back foot. He's got to back him up against the fence. If you back him up against the fence, he can't back off any further. Therefore, you can only go side-to-side movement, lateral movement with the feet, but you certainly can't back up. Okay, so that's a good thing to do there. When you look at the fight with Jared and Anderson Silva, Jared took his time, but he was explosive. He cut off the cage. He backed him up. He waited. He mirrored him. He shadowed him. Whenever Anderson went left or right, he went left or right. And the reflexes were fast. Jared Cannonier is probably I'd say the fastest opponent that Israel's gone up against in the middleweight division. I don't know about that, but he's certainly very, very fast. When he fought Anderson Silva, he looked like lightning. He landed 3 right hands in a row. The kicks obviously were on point. The reflexes were great. He checked everything. He didn't take any damage. I don't think Anderson Silva landed one flush shot. Granted, that wasn't the Anderson in his prime. We know that. But with respect, when Izzy beat him, it wasn't Anderson in his prime either. So it does kind of sway into the balance a little bit. I'm not giving a prediction right here. I'm just saying how bloody excited I am for this. Israel Adesanya is probably going to be a huge favourite. I haven't seen the books. Yeah, I haven't seen the bookies. But come on, he's got to be. He's got to be the favourite, and rightly goddamn so. But I'm just saying, right, I'm going to watch both these guys a little bit closer. I'm going to give you an official prediction and a proper breakdown. But Jared Cannonier is coming for that belt. Jared Cannonier is not a man to be underestimated. Listen, of course, Israel Adesanya is going to come in. He's going to put on a show. He's going to do a dance routine on the way to the Octagon. If he wins the fight, he's going to have the crowd going absolutely insane, because that's what he does. Izzy's a star, and I love watching him fight. I do, and I'm going to love watching this fight even more, because I feel that this one's going to be a little bit spicy. Anyway, all the best. Take care.